apparent circulation or one of the more intense subvortices. A common theme seems to have emerged from those impacted by the tornado. In each case, a more escape route to the east was attempted, which was too late to clear the apparent circulation, or road conditions did not permit the necessary speed escape. The first group of racers hit by this tornado that was on and Sullivan right positioned themselves in front of the tornado early in its lifespan, filming several subvortices at close range. As they approached their position, an attack south was attempted, but they were overtaken by the expanding parent circulation and rear flanking down winds. Their vehicle sustained extensive damage as it was impacted by debris moving across. They would continue on their way, eventually escaping the damaging winds and debris. Mike Bettis and a crew from the Weather Channel started their chase north of El Reno in the Kingfisher area. They approached the storm and tornado from the north, cutting across the forward-flanking precipitation core, a maneuver known as core. As they entered the town of El Reno, the tornado was already in progress to their south. They approached the tornado from the north, and escaped to the south on US 81. They were taken by the parent circulation, directed by an intense vortex. Their vehicle failed several times, and one person within the vehicle suffered serious injuries. Our knowledge of where Tim and Paul Samares and Carl Young were positioned comes from observations from Dan Robinson, who had a visual on them during his chase. We know they were traveling eastbound on Reuter Road as the tornado was making its left turn. Dan reported difficulty maintaining traction and speed while trying to escape the tornado ahead of them on Reuter. Tim, Paul, and Carl kept a slower pace, falling well behind Dan's position, and were overtaken by the tornado. All three of them were killed near the intersection of Reuter and Radio Roads. Dan Robinson chased the tornado from its northwest initially, inside the inflow notch in a maneuver sometimes called a hook slice. The maneuver is popular because it provides a high-contrast backlit view of the tornado and is often the only available view of the tornado on a high-precipitation supercell. Turning east on a Reuter Road, Dan realized the tornado had made a significant left turn and was moving closer to his position. Dan crossed US 81 just after 6:19 with Tim, Paul, and Carl directly behind him. An escape to the east on Reuter was attempted. Dan reported high winds making steering and maintaining speed difficult, as it appeared he was just within the outer circulation. Dan stopped twice to film the tornado once he was clear of its path. Damaging winds within the rear flanking downdraft, however, caused damage to his vehicle and injuries. He was later able to escape the storm to the south. We'll end this event analysis with
Sick of all the ads, like this one? Just head to adskiller.com. Click on Activate Now.
The road. Attempt to associated with. He briefly considers heading to 1/2 mile from the edge of the main tornado. These tornadoes spin about the main funnel in a counterclockwise orbit. It is 6:18. A Weather Channel crew, led by Mike Bettis, is racing south down Highway 81. Meanwhile, Richard Henderson is trying to beat the tornado to the east, his progress delayed by a chaser traffic jam. Near the intersection of 15th Street with Highway 81, the tornado appears as a wall of condensation. Mikey Gribble shoots video to the west along 15th Street as the Weather Channel crew is frantically attempting to get past the tornado a mile to his west. They do not make it. While the Weather Channel is attempting to outrace the tornado, Richard Henderson continues east on Reno, hoping to beat the tornado to the east. Hindered by the blinding rain and powerful winds, Henderson stops. With brutal force, the tornado overtakes him. He does not survive. The lead car of the Weather Channel crew is hit by a subvortex within the larger tornado, and their vehicle is rolled almost 200 yards. The car is badly damaged, and all airbags are deployed. Amazingly, all of the team's crew members have survived with non-serious injuries. As the Weather Channel crew is getting hit, Dan Robinson is heading east on Reuter Road, just west of Highway 81. He briefly considers heading south, but realizes there isn't enough time. The tornado is moving fast, much faster than expected. Robinson decides to continue heading east on Reuter. Unknown to Robinson at the time, a white Chevy Cobalt is following him. In it are Tim Samares, Paul Samares, and Carl Young. As Robinson crosses Highway 81, he approaches Alphadale Road and realizes that something is wrong. Terribly wrong. The time is 6:20. Rain curtains, associated with the tornadic circulation, begin to envelop his vehicle. The winds become much stronger too. Though the main condensation funnel is still a mile away, Robinson is overtaken by the invisible edge of the tornado. Robinson's four-cylinder vehicle struggles to go eastward against strong east and northeasterly winds. The wind slows down Robinson's attempt to escape the approaching tornado. Visibility is very low, as dust and precipitation bands periodically hide the road in front of him. The tornado is just to Robinson's south. To make matters worse, the traction control on his Toyota Yaris engages, reducing power to his wheels. Robinson struggles to stay on the road. Not long after passing Radio, Robinson clears the future path of the core flow, with winds now approaching 300 miles per hour. Less than a half mile behind Robinson, a powerful subvortex is swinging northwest toward Reuter. In the direct path, the Twistex crew is riding out the storm alongside the road near a creek. The vortex briefly stalls over their Chevy Cobalt. It tumbles over 5 times. They do not survive. The tornado continues to head north. The forward speed of the tornado slows down to less than 10 miles per hour.
Near the road, east of Highway 81, they were hit with sudden heavy rain that made it difficult to see, and high winds that almost caused the car to swerve off the road. Suddenly, the rain stopped, and there was an eerie calm. Carl Young could then be heard saying, "There's no rain around here," to which Tim Samares replied, "Actually, I think we're in a bad spot." The video footage then cut out. Over their radio, Highway Patrol could hear Tim and Paul Samares shouting, "We're going to die, we're going to die." Reports say the subvortex made a sudden change in direction and headed straight for their car. After arriving at their location, the vortex stopped and was in place for 20 seconds. Some say it was as if it lunged out at them on purpose. This is what their car looked like after being hit by the tornado. Tim Samares was found in the passenger seat of the car with his seatbelt still on. Paul Samares and Carl were sucked out of the vehicle by the powerful subvortex, and their bodies were found half a mile away from the car near the road. The subvortices in this tornado traveled at speeds up to 180 miles per hour. They were as wide as football fields at their base and contained wind speeds over 250 miles per hour. Wind strong enough to throw a 2009 Chevy Cobalt into a field half a mile away. As the tornado passed over the Twistex team, it had reached its peak size and intensity. By 6:27 p.m., the tornado was heading toward Reno, were heading south on 81 in an attempt to get out of its way when they were hit by one of the
Introducing Discover Online Privacy Protection.
I don't know why it does that.
storm's powerful subvortices. The powerful winds soon knocked their vehicles off the road and caused one of their SUVs to take off like an aircraft before it veered left and rolled into a field hundreds of yards from the road. 3 passengers were in the SUV at the time, but luckily, nobody from the History Channel team was killed. At the same time, another group of storm chasers known as the Twistex team were traveling with the tornado near its northern edge. The group was led by Tim Samares, a storm chasing expert known for his time on the Discovery Channel show Storm Chasers. Tim Samares was the first person to deploy instruments that measure what happens inside of a tornado. He engineered circular pods that record wind speeds and barometric pressure. To successfully test the pods, Samares would have to place them in the path of a tornado. A risky job, but many say that Tim Samares was not a thrill-seeker and would be the first to pull out if the situation looked too dangerous. His son, photographer Paul Samares, and meteorologist Carl Young were also part of the Twistex team. The three had originally planned to cut the tornado off at Highway 81 so they could deploy their pods, but the tornado was already passing over 81 by the time they reached it. They continued heading east on Reuter Road, but 2 miles in, they were struck and killed by one of the tornado's subvortices. A video camera in the car recorded the entire event, but the footage was not released to the public. However, a description of the events was given by a fellow storm chaser who viewed the footage. As Twistex headed down Reuter Road, east of Highway 81, they were hit with sudden heavy rain that made it difficult to see, and high winds that almost caused the car to swerve off the road. Suddenly, the rain stopped, and there was an eerie calm. Carl Young could then be heard saying, "There's no rain around here," to which Tim Samares replied, "Actually, I think we're in a bad spot." The video footage then cut out. Over their radio, Highway Patrol could hear Tim and Paul Samares shouting, "We're going to die, we're going to die." Reports say the subvortex made a sudden